Pioneer Women Aviators, Info and Famous Quotes. Raymonde de Laroche, first woman to pilot solo a powered heavier-than aircraft. World's first licensed female pilot on 8 March 1910 by Aero Club de France, the first organization to issue pilot's licenses. In October 1909, de Laroche appealed to her friend, aviator and aeroplane builder Charles Voisin, to instruct her in how to fly. On 22 October 1909, de Laroche went to the Voisin Brothers base of operations at Chalons, 140 kilometers east of Paris. Voisin's aircraft could seat only one person, so she operated the plane by herself while he stood on the ground and gave instructions. After she mastered taxiing around the airfield, she lifted off and flew 270 meters. The following day she circled the flying field twice, turning with consummate ease. During this flight of about 6 kilometers, there was a strong gusty wind blowing, but after the first 2 turnings she said that it did not bother her, as she had the machine completely under control. Raymonde de Laroche, famous quotes. Flying is the best possible thing for women. Flying does not rely so much on strength as on physical and mental coordination. Marie Marvingt, first female combat pilot during World War I, first female to cross the English Channel and North Sea in a balloon, French athlete, mountaineer, aviator, and journalist. Marie Marvingt won numerous prizes for her sporting achievements in swimming, cycling, mountain climbing, winter sports, ballooning, flying, riding, gymnastics, athletics, rifle shooting, and fencing. She was the first woman to climb many of the peaks in the French and Swiss Alps. She was a record-breaking balloonist, an aviator, and during World War I, she became the first woman in the world to fly combat missions when she became a volunteer pilot, flying bombing missions over German-held territory. She was also a qualified surgical nurse, was the first trained and certified flight nurse in the world, and worked for the establishment of air ambulance services throughout the world. Marie Marvingt, famous quote, "This new sport is comparable to no other. It is, in my opinion, one of the most intoxicating forms of sport, and will, I am sure, become one of the most popular. Many of us will perish before then, but that prospect will not dismay the bravest spirits. It is so delicious to fly like a bird." Amelia Earhart, first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic in 1932, first person to fly across the Atlantic Ocean twice, American aviator and author. Earhart made an enormous contribution to the field of female aviation. She received many awards and honors for her achievements in aviation and for her numerous records as a pilot. On May 20, 1932, Amelia Earhart flew solo in a red Lockheed Vega 5B from Newfoundland, Canada, and landed in Culmore, Northern Ireland. The flight took 14 hours and 56 minutes. Amelia Earhart, famous quotes. "Women, like men, should try to do the impossible. And when they fail, their failure should be a challenge to others. The most effective way to do it is to do it. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. You can act to change and control your life. And the procedure, the process, is its own reward. Never interrupt someone doing what you said couldn't be done." Hanna Reitsch, first female helicopter and rocket plane pilot, German aviator and test pilot. Reitsch became the first female helicopter pilot in 1937 and one of the few pilots to fly the Fokker Achilles FA-61, the first fully controllable helicopter. In 1938, Reitsch became the first person to fly a helicopter FA-61 inside an enclosed space in the Deutschlandhalle, Berlin. Reitsch was a test pilot on the Junkers Ju-87 Stuka dive bomber and the Dornier Do-17 light fast bomber projects during World War II. While in the German Luftwaffe, she was asked to fly many of Germany's latest designs, among them the rocket-propelled Messerschmitt Me-163 Comet in 1942. She made several successful test flights of the prototype Feisler Fi-103R, which was a late World War II German manned version of the V-1 flying bomb, before training instructors. Hanna Reitsch famous quote, "Professor Fokker and his technicians standing below grew ever smaller as I continued to rise straight up, 50 meters, 75 meters, 100 meters. Then I gently began to throttle back, and the speed of ascent dwindled till I was hovering motionless in mid-air. This was intoxicating. I thought of the lark, so light and small of wing, hovering over the summer fields. Now man had wrested from him his lovely secret." Jacqueline Cochran, first female to fly a bomber over the North Atlantic in 1941. First female to break the sound barrier on 18 May 1953. First woman to land and take off from an aircraft carrier. American pilot and business executive. Before the United States joined World War II, Cochran was part of the Wings for Britain, an organization that ferried American-built aircraft to Britain, becoming the first woman to fly a bomber, a Lockheed Hudson V, across the Atlantic. On May 18, 1953, at Rogers Dry Lake, California, Cochran flew a Sabre 3 up to 45,000 feet, then went into a nosedive that caused the Sabre to go supersonic, making her the first woman to break the sound barrier. She was also the first woman to fly a jet aircraft on a transatlantic flight, the first woman to make a blind instrument landing, the only woman ever to be president of the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, 1958 to 1961, the first woman to fly a fixed-wing jet aircraft across the Atlantic, the first pilot to fly above 20,000 feet with an oxygen mask, and the first woman to enter the Bendix transcontinental race. She held, at the time of her death in 1980, more distance and speed records than any pilot living or dead, male or female. She was a pioneer in the field of aviation and one of the most prominent racing pilots of her generation. She was an important contributor to the formation of the Wartime Women's Auxiliary Army Corps and the Women Air Force Service Pilots. Jacqueline Cochran famous quotes, "I might have been born in a hovel, but I determined to travel with the wind and the stars." In the case of pilots, it is a little touch of madness that drives us to go beyond all known bounds. Any search into the unknown is an incomparable exploitation of oneself. To live without risk for me would be tantamount to death. I have found adventure in flying, in world travel, in business, and even close at hand. Adventure is a state of mind and spirit. It comes with faith, for with complete faith there is no fear of what faces you in life or death. Geraldine Jerrie Fredritz Mock, first woman to fly solo around the world. American pilot. Mock flew a single-engine Cessna 180, christened the Spirit of Columbus and nicknamed Charlie, for her round-the-world flight. The trip began March 19, 1964 in Columbus, Ohio, and ended April 17, 1964 in Columbus, Ohio, and took 29 days, 21 stopovers, and almost 36,790 kilometers. Some of her other notable achievements are: first woman to fly around the world in a single-engine plane, first woman to fly US, Africa via North Atlantic, first woman to fly the Pacific single-engine, first woman to fly the Pacific west to east, first woman to fly both the Atlantic and Pacific, first woman to fly the Pacific both directions. Geraldine Jerrie Fredritz Mock famous quotes, "I did not conform to what girls did. What the girls did was boring. I knew one thing, I wanted to see the world. I didn't think it was such a great thing, it was just lots of fun. It was a good, practical thing that dozens of women, both in the United States and other countries, could have done before I did. You just use your common sense, know how to fly the airplane, do what you're supposed to do, know the routes and all the rules and regulations. Just nobody else had the sense, or should I say, the stupidity to try it. There were women who told me that they flew because of me. I'm glad I did what I did because I had a wonderful time. There are dozens of women who could have done what I did. All I did was have some fun. Georgia Ann Tiny Thompson Broadwick. First woman to jump from an airplane. First person to jump from a seaplane. American pioneering parachutist and the inventor of the ripcord. In 1914, on her fourth demo jump for the U.S. Army, who were reluctant at first to adopt the parachute, Tiny's static line became entangled in the tail assembly of the military aircraft. Strong winds prevented her climbing back into the plane. She did not panic, but cut the static line short and deployed her chute manually by pulling the shortened, unattached line while in free fall in what may have been the first planned free fall jump from an airplane. This demonstrated that pilots could safely escape aircraft by using what was later called a ripcord. Also in 1914, Broadwick jumped into Lake Michigan, becoming the first woman to parachute into a body of water. Georgia Ann Tiny Thompson Broadwick famous quotes: "I breathe so much better up there, and it's so peaceful being that near to God. I knew that's all I ever wanted to do." Tiny was just 15 years old when she jumped from a hot air balloon at the 1908 North Carolina State Fair. Describing her feelings later, she said, "I tell you, honey, it was the most wonderful sensation in the world." Please take the time to find out more about these amazing, brave women pioneer aviators. They truly deserve our respect and admiration and are a wonderful inspiration. They prove that women can exceed expectations and achieve their dreams. I hope that you found this video inspiring and that it will motivate you to push your boundaries to do things no one thought you could. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more inspirational videos.